Ah, you have an old typewriter on the left. I have the
Oh
same
yeah, yeah, I
others.
have.
I
It's
have,
from Vienna. Actually, that watch there is also from Vienna.
let's make a similar background. Give me a second. Can I put it here?
Oh my goodness.
It's a very old one.
I don't know.
No.
On mine,
It says Underwood on mine.
yeah, I don't see the brand. I don't see the brand. But we can say it the
It's the
same
same.
time.
In today's Behind the United Art Galleries video podcast, there is some top shit happening. Borut Peterlin from Slovenia is here and will tell us a little bit more about his work. So, Borut, how are you doing?
Zdravo. I'm doing great. I'm doing I'm doing so great. If it would be better, it would be already kitschy.
Oh, that's a
It,
good
it will,
start.
yeah, if it would be better, it would be disgusting.
Okay, great. As always, at the beginning, tell us a little bit more about you and how did you find just the way to photography or to your art?
Yeah, well, I was always in photography from age, what, 11? Well, I started like this. When I was 10 years old, I had an accident. I burned myself with gasoline and blah, blah, blah. It was really difficult time and I couldn't do sport and stuff. So, I took my parents' old Russian camera, Kiev, which is right there, and I started photographing. But the thing is that camera was actually the light meter was broken, so it was like I didn't got any results. But so in the secondary school I went for carpentry instead of photography because I didn't had any results in photography. But in the carpentry school, I already decided that photography is the way, and then I went to study in Prague in a FAMU academy, and after that I went to Fabrica, to Benetton Research Center of Communication, where I worked with Oliviero Toscani, and after that I went to postgraduate studies in London. And then then I got my first child, my second child, and then I decided, and I was very successful commercial photographer. I built myself a house with that money, but then I decided, it's boring. I didn't saw I started to hate photography actually, and I saw exhibition of Sally Mann in London in Photographers Gallery, and that's why I decided. And then on the spot, I decided, okay, I don't know exactly what that is, but this is what I'm going to do in the future. So here I am now talking with you.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people are watching the vlogs every time you put a new one online. And I wanted to ask this question a little bit later, but because we are talking already about it, are your vlogs like, or your video documentation when you create ambrotypes, is this like part of your art, the video?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we are talking about the beginnings, when I said, okay, this collodion is really, really cool, I really want to do this full time. And as you know, as a professional photographer, it's kind of difficult to devote, a very quite big chunk of your time to a hobby, right? So and wet plate collodion process at that time, it was a hobby. So I decided, okay, I want to go professional in this direction, and I had three choices. One is to quit. Secondly, to go abroad, because Slovenia is really not the place to do a career in wet plate. Or thirdly, do something so people from all over the world will come to my place. And immediately I decided that I will try to have an online presence. And actually, and when I say that, I mean my blog, WordPress blog is it's already, I don't know, 1,200 and something posts, and I'm doing it from 2003, but regularly from 2006. So so I am, for me, YouTube and was just another branch of something that I was already doing. It was just like a new format, and I really like it. And actually, and YouTube is, and as you asked, this is a very important question, because because I faced that question. Okay, I do a plate, I put it on a website or Facebook or whatever, and people are looking it through the phone or on the computer, and it looks like kind of fancy Instagram or filter or whatever. So I said, okay, how can I explain? How can I tell a story? That's important. How can I tell a story? And naturally, video and YouTube is the most natural and the best way of doing it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I tried for some time Vimeo, but at the end with YouTube, you get much more people to watch your videos. That was my experience. Even
Yeah.
Vimeo, you could get a little bit better quality, but at the end, as you said, the people are gonna watch it on the phone, maybe, or maybe on a tablet. I don't know. I don't know how many people will watch it on TV. I did
I,
one of your videos I watched on the TV because I wanted to see it on a big screen, but
okay,
I think
good.
it was only one.
Yeah, that's why I have full HD and not 4K. I could do it in 4K, but no way. I don't own a TV, so I must say that your vlogs were watched on the phone or on the tablet by me.
So let's go to the next question. Is we're coming already to one of your art stuff, but how has the pandemic affected you and your work and your consignments?
Great. Actually, I'm sorry to say, I mean, I sympathize with all the people that are suffering, and there are a lot of people suffering. And but for me, it was, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. Time off, no phone, nobody's ringing, nobody's asking me. Of course, I didn't have money, but nobody did, so that was not a problem. I had enough supplies, and I'm living, and luckily Slovenia is dealing really well with in this pandemic time, so there was no problem. I knew that, so so for me it was great. I had time in the forest, I had time to do my work. If I didn't do it today, I did it next day. If I didn't do it next day, it was like the whole week. So what? Nobody was pressing me with deadlines and stuff. So and I took myself that time for self-reflection. What I want. I learned a couple of stuff, I read a couple of books, and I spent a lot of time in nature.
I couldn't agree more. It was the same here. I have two jobs, and I could finally sleep a little bit more and could do finally my own wet play projects I wanted to do. I hadn't time for that before, and it was really good to have some time off. Even it was, of course, I didn't make any money on photography and all my workshops like your workshops, but I didn't mind at that time so much because I enjoyed to have some time for myself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at the beginning, nobody knew was happening. I was like,
Exactly.
I tried to stay healthy. I was not going running again. I just was going on walks, and I was getting stuff from my mom, and I was just being careful not to get for any funny accident in the hospital. And I wanted to be able to do my workshops, but nobody knew. I couldn't do any because it was all canceled. But I enjoyed the beginning of the time too, because I could be at home, work from home. It was for me, it was not a bad time. It was just a little bit scary because I didn't know what was really happening outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So there are we already with your first work. So tell us a little bit more about your A New Earth project.
Yeah, A New Earth project started during the pandemic. I mean, physically, I started to taking pictures about it, but it was brewing inside me for a long time, a really long time, probably more than a year before I took a first picture. Started like that with a dilemma. I love nature. I photograph nature so much, and I love great masters like Adams and others. But I didn't want to. But then I said to myself, yeah, I mean, it's a great picture of a tree, but how can I involve some more feelings of me, you know, not just beautiful tree, but how can I make a step further? How can I use this vehicle of nature to transport my thoughts, my thought processes, my path that I'm going through personally, and that's how, you know, and just a photo of a tree was not enough. Just the photo of a tree was not enough for me personally. I'm not I'm not making judgments for whoever. I mean, um, I love, as I said, I love nature. Um, One of the things that, let's say I this is my book, Father's Tale, and you know, like this kind of photo of a river stream and a stone and so on, you know, like I've done it without concept behind, you know. I just love the photo, you know, and I took the photo like that, and so many of them inside, you know, and this roots and everything, you know, everything. I just photographed it just because I loved it. But then I realized, oh my God, this landscape is actually could be a message, could be a vehicle of my emotions. You know, I can use my nature work in the story that I want to tell about my daughters. You know, about being a father. You know, and this is another thing that say, oh yeah, this looks really nice. You know, but and then I was putting photos together. You know, like a double exposure of my daughter with this tree and so on. And I said, oh, you know, this is actually this is a nature. These photos are serving me differently than I thought about. You know, that I was planning. That when I photographed them, I didn't thought like that. But then when I was putting it together, I said, oh yeah, this really works. So what I wanted to say, my dilemma was that just a beautiful photo of a nature was not enough for me and for what I want to say. And then I came up with this project, A New Earth. You know, and I asked myself, and this pandemic really came as a bell of mindfulness, you know, because I know, and everybody knows, you know, that we are living in very unsustainable society, and in a system that cannot go on. You know, it will break. It has to break. It will break, and it will break cataclysmic. And I thought to myself, oh, maybe this pandemic is something, maybe it's something that actually it's a sign, you know. It's a sign that actually it is the system that we have, it's crumbling, you know. Let's just talk about let's just think about ecological component and not and discard all the rest. It's crumbling, the world is crumbling, and I thought, okay, the world is crumbling, you know. And I imagine myself, okay, so okay, let's say apocalypse is done, you know. It's in the past, you know. It's behind us, it's behind me. And now what I want to say, you know, what changes do I want to make in my life to make it different, to make the world different? And of course, you know, I want, you know, the respect for the nature. That's the fundamental stone, you know. I want to give my homage, my praise, I want to redefine myself in the nature. And when I say redefine myself in the nature, that doesn't mean that now when I'm sitting in my atelier, that's still a nature, you know, in a broader sense. So this is how this was my thought process, you know. This is what my thought process. So I said, okay, this project is about post-apocalyptic New Deal with Mother Nature, you know. It's my personal stuff, but it's talking about, but you know, it's not about me per se. It's not about me as an individual. It's talking about our society. I am in my photos presenting a human, you know. Doesn't have a name, doesn't have status, doesn't have. That's why I'm naked. Actually, that's why I'm naked, because I don't want to have a T-shirt. I don't want to have a car. I don't want to have something that would be related to something in the. I don't, to a fashion, to the time or whatever. So I want to create this kind of timeless images that that would tell a story. And this is where I came from. This was the first step of my my project.
I read that you were inspired by other artists or people, like
Oh yeah.
Anna Medieta. I hope I pronounce her right. So I looked at her work. It was really interesting. Maybe I can put some in the vlog. I'm not sure if I'm allowed.
You should. I think it's a good idea. When I was in Berlin, actually I made a vlog once, a long time ago, a couple of years ago. I went to Martin Gropiusbau.
Okay, we are in Martin Gropiusbau, one of the most important galleries in Europe. And I have exhibit here when, I don't remember the year when Slovenia joined EU. Anyway, I came here to see a show by Anna Mendieta. By the truth, I didn't know who she is. I'm not into the landscape art or body art. Actually, this work is amazing. I'm so stoked by it. I'm really super impressed. I didn't bought the book of Irving Penn, but I did bought the book of Anna Mendieta. I think it will play a more important role in my artistic thinking.
I didn't know who Anna Mendieta is, and I'm really not in the landscape art. And on top of that, it was like a video projection. And I said, oh, this is really out of my interest. But it's Martin Gropiusbau. I'm going there. That's like a sacred place. I'm going there. Whatever is there, I will go there and see it. I went before that. I was in a CO Berlin. There was Irving Penn. Sure. I was in a Helmut Newton. Sure. And then I went to Martin Gropiusbau, and I must tell you, I wasn't really inspired. Of course, Irving Penn, Helmut Newton, and other photographers that were exhibiting there, all great stuff, fantastic milestones in our history of photography. But for me personally, I was not really inspired, motivated. And then I went to see this work of Anna Mendieta, and I must tell you immediately, if you want to see it on YouTube or anywhere else or in the books, visually, I'm sorry to say, but from my perspective, it's poor. It's done in 70s, just a camera rolling, and it's not visually very attractive. But the thing that on the exhibition in Martin Gropiusbau, they put every single film, which is not happening much in it, on the wall, like on a big wall, a screening on the wall. Everything was subdued. It was dark, just that picture on the wall. And I must tell you, it was like in a church, it was like very sacred, and I sit down and I watched, 12 minutes of somebody breathing and a stone or two are rolling down, and nothing really, no action, no story, no line. But I was impressed by this premise, by her story. Okay, her story goes like this. She was inspired by art of Incas and Mayas, like ancient art, ancient civilizations, and she is very capable and very, very crafty artist. I think she was a sculpture maker, I'm not sure. Anyway, she made this object of art inspired by her, but when she made them, she was very unsatisfied because it looked fake. Because how when my mother and father brought me a souvenir from Cairo, like papyrus with those hieroglyphs, yeah, it looks the same. It looks totally the same, but it's fake. It's nothing. It doesn't have this energy, of the original. So anyway, it's kind of kitschy. Those papyrus. I'm not talking about her previous book. Anyway. So she found it empty, and and then she thought, okay, those objects, those images, those paintings, those were done as a ritual. That was not an art by itself. That was not to put it on the wall. This was the objects of a ritual. And then she said, okay, what if I perform a ritual in a nature, and whatever it will come out of it, it's an object just like Inca or Mayas, created their object for their ritual. And I thought, oh my God, that is a line of thought that I want to follow. That's a missing link in my work, in my inspiration. That was a missing link. And then I thought, okay, and then I reflect myself, okay, let's imagine that I will do the same, how I'm photographing till now, and I realized I'm just chasing the final image, right? I'm chasing the final image, as we all are. We are photographers. You can ask yourself the same question, is the final image the one that you want to chase, and the means are not important? Or let's say, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're overspent, you do this, you're stressed, you are all over your head, you're breaking stuff, you're chasing that final image that is in your mind. And I thought, you know what, maybe I should change this attitude from the core. Let's change it from the core. Let's set the premise that my final photo has to radiate peace, has to radiate timelessness, has to be peaceful, has to have this meditation quality in it. And to do that, you could not be stressed and go crazy and run around and then say, okay, now I'm meditating. And, it will again be fake. It will be fake. The photography, the art reflects everything. Everything reflects out. It comes out. In the long term, it will come out. And I said, okay, I have to do the ritual from the start, from the cleaning plates, from the fixing my Land Rover and preparing stuff to do this photo till the end, when I make a final print and publish it on the blog. So this was something that Ana Mendieta work was really in its fundament, really changed my attitude towards art in general, not only in this project. And the only element that I kept from Ana Mendieta is this, what I just mentioned, this attitude of a ritual, this one thing. And the visual thing, the only visual thing that I kept, I don't know if I actually already, I didn't took it yet, but there is one pose that she's standing like this. She made this silhouette series that she's standing like this, and this comes out of the ancient art presenting a free spirit, free soul. Yeah. So this is the only visual element that I want to keep in my work, not in every work. Actually, till now I haven't done it yet, but in my future work, there will be a couple of images that I will be standing like this, just as a homage to Ana Mendieta's work, and that's the only thing that I kept from her work, and of course, a couple of situations but I will redo it, it'll be totally different. So this is the only pieces of work that I took from her heritage, but these are really important, fundamental pieces in my work. So this is one of my greatest influence. And then if I may continue, I am listening a lot of talks like from Ellen Watts and Eckhart Tolle, and and Eckhart Tolle published a second book, I think it's second book, A New Earth, and it's talking exactly about that, how we as a global society are evolving. We are evolving, and we have to evolve. As I said, Otherwise, we will go extinct. You know, there is we cannot go to Mars and live there. You know, we will go extinct if we don't evolve. And we, as a society, we evolve. And how we do that, you know, just as the, who said that? I think it was Gandhi. Just be the change that you want to see in the world, right? So I think that's what he said. Anyway, so this is I took the title of his book, and he took it from the Bible. A New Earth is a quote from the Bible, and I'm not a Bible follower, but or a religious person, you know. But this is something that is really appropriate for the time, you know, and really, there was a couple of ideas that came through my mind. How should I entitle this project? And A New Earth is exactly that. It's talking about Bible is talking about post-apocalyptic time, and my work is talking about post-apocalyptic time. So, you know, it's perfect fit.
I still want to go on with your A New Earth project. I saw you doing the prints where you put some additional structure into the print above you, and you worked pretty hard on it. I remember watching the vlog when you tried to make some like a structure above you that's floating above you. Tell us a little bit more about this process when you started printing them.
Retouching, like I love. If we are talking about photographers that are inspiring me in this project, I will name two names that nobody knows probably. Petr Župnik is Slovakian photographer, and Herman Piuk is Slovenian photographer.
Today I have chosen 4 authors, which I'm really inspired by. Paul Pecha, Petr Župnik, Herman Piuk, and Regina Anzenberger. Why? Because I see a common theme, a common aesthetic, a common energy, a frequency that I see that is going through all this work, or all their work. And I see a potential that can benefit me in my next project hugely.
And they both have their manipulating their images. They're intervening with, I mean, both are, we are talking about 90s, right? There was no Photoshop invented there then. So they in a dark room, they made their image basically, especially Herman Piuk. So I also took a workshop of Mark Osterman in George Eastman House about glass negative retouching. And I love this idea of intervening into the negative, adding some, should we call it esoteric creatures. Actually, I've made one whole book about fairy tales. That was in 1999 till 2002, I think. Anyway, where I was in a forest at night and creating this mystical light creatures. So it's very close to me that I photograph nature and then put some extra energy inside. As I said, photography, this new objectivity of Ansel Adams and I don't know, and August Sander and who else? And others. It's actually it's great. I love it, but in my work, I don't know, just doesn't feel good enough for me. So that's why I'm actually intervening in a negative, somewhat. But that's the question. You mentioned that print and those negatives. Um, I am really working. It's very double-edged sword, meaning you can. I don't want to have that my photo is like a painting. I want that I intervene, but my intervention is so subtle that if you just look at from, you don't even notice. That's what I want to have. That kind of feeling that you feel. But if you would see it without it, it's a big difference. So this is what I want to have. I don't want to totally distort and totally make a painting out of photograph. Like let's say Herman Puch is his latest work is basically just painting. Photography is like 5-10%, and the rest is like his intervention. So I don't want to do that. I want to be that my intervention is 5 or 10% in the final image. The rest is a photo. So it's like a kind of creative. I'm still learning. I'm still have a lots of manuring space. What you have seen is just what I've tried till now is just the basic of the basics that I know. My next step is to also do the chemical intervention while photographing or while after, and so on. So it's just like trying out things, playing around, seeing what happens, what works, what doesn't. That's how art is made. Like if you follow some, it's good to follow some norms, but or some rules. It's good to follow them, but you have to have in mind that those rules, those norms are like a crutches. They help you to start walking, but they will prevent you to start running or to start dancing. One point of time, you have to leave the crutches. You have to put it down and start dancing and start running, and that's what it is. That's how I see it. And this what I'm telling you now is exactly that. And I have zero prejudice of hiding my techniques. As you see it, I show it to everybody. If you want to do it, if you want to apply this on your work, great. Like it's something that I learned from others. And I think it's kind of childish when photographers are hiding or making their techniques into mythical or epic or whatever. Like for me, that's childish. Like for me, it's like we are here just for a fraction of, like just a brief moment, and then we are gone. Like who, what's the use of I mean, I understand if you are a commercial photographer and you make something, and if your neighbor will do the same thing, I understand that. But in my case, I see no reason why I shouldn't share with others, and I will share it, and I'm sharing it. So
That's really great. No, I totally understand that. I don't, I think there is not much that haven't been done before. So the most people, I don't know, everything is repeating from time to time. So everybody knows the most techniques, and if not, they can read a book too. But I have to go back to the question again. At the New Earth project, at a New Earth project, you have like stuff floating above you. Should that symbolize for something, or?
Yeah. Like that image that you're talking about it looks like a sacrifice. Like my body is suspended over a rotten trunk of tree, which hurted as hell. My goodness, I cut it out, all the sounds that I was making, but I really suffered there. Those splinters went right through on my back, and I really had to do all my breathing and channeling my pain away to endure that moment. So sure, that body is there. It looks like a sacrificed body in the nature. on a trunk, and above me, I made one print that was without any retouching, and it didn't really work. It really didn't work because it was the body was blending with the background. Only when my final, then I make a couple of stages of retouching. The final stage is the let's say my body is like this is my body, right? Like my hand. And then above me, it's kind of like a triangle patch of bright white clouds, something like that. Yeah, something, but basically a brightness, you know, above me. So yeah, of course, it's symbolizing. Well, I don't know. People are using a label, soul. What else? Energy, transition, whatever label you want to use it. That's what it is. You know, you can label it by yourself, whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it, and that's how it is. Like, you know, basically, I want to tell two things. One, without retouching, it didn't work. You know, it was just the background was too dark. It didn't work. It didn't work to me. When I added a couple of sharp stains and unsharp patches of white, only then when I saw it, and I really said, oh, okay, this is what I'm looking for, you know. But it took me like a couple of days to make that print, you know. So this is how I've done it. And if I want to, I don't know if there is another question about New Earth, but I wanted to say where I'm going with this, just to, you know, maybe to summarize or continue. But I just want to tell you my last week revelation. Actually, I learned about, you know, now it's past Corona time, you know, like my phones are ringing again. I have a couple of commercial jobs. And I got one big commercial job, and I said, okay. And I was running again. I have to push. And I said, you know what? No, I will stop. I will make this commercial job, and then I will decline everything else because it's the summer. You know, usually people don't work in the summer. And I will just work on my art. And my plan is to go to the woodland and spend there like a month. Of course, with my Land Rover, I will not be all the time there. I will be like, let's say 6 out of 7 days in a week. I will be sleeping there and everything. Like also today I slept in a woodland. So, you know, I go there. By the way, if you're following my vlogs, all those time lapses, they're done like separately. Like today I've done 2 time lapses, you know, and then you see how much time lapses I have. You know, every time that I sleep and I wake up in the morning, there is a 1 time lapse. You know, I have only 1 camera, unfortunately. And, you know, I could make 1 time lapse in 1 hour, you know. So that's why I sleep in the forest, you know. So I set my time lapse. There is like a start. Okay, I have 1 time lapse. I have 2nd time lapse. It's like a week has passed. I have like 10, 14 time lapses, and then I use it for the vlog, you know. So that's how. So this is my plan, you know, to stay in a forest for a really long time and really devote, just like take myself off the grid and said, okay, I provided enough money for my family and for myself, and now I don't need to do commercial work anymore. I have like now 1 month of time, and I'll do just that. You know, I don't need a vacation. I don't want to go to the seaside. I mean, maybe I will go, but that's not my goal. So this is what I want to really breathe and live my art and my forest and just be there, you know, because this is something that there is one stage that you enter a park and say, oh, there is the second stage that you go for hiking for a couple of days and go, oh, wow, even better. But then is the third stage when you find yourself that this is a part of you, you know, that this is something, this is your normal. When you go to the forest, when you go to the atelier, this is something that is not you. This is not normal. This is your artificial environment, you know. But this is something that demands a lot of work. As you know, I made like in the last 2 or 3 months, I made like 4 or 5 pictures, something like that. And it goes really slow, you know, goes really, really slow. And that's how it goes, you know. So this is my plan, to really devote myself time to go there, to do my bushcraft photography, and of course to deal all the stuff that I want, that forest brings, like storms, ticks, bears, mosquitoes. Everything will be part of my artwork. By the way, an anecdote. There is one photo, a collodion plate. It's not on part of my new Earth project. I was pouring collodion, and then an insect flew on, and it got dissolved. It got like inside, and then on the end it was like a comment on the photo. But that's how it is, like I know what is that comment, but visually you don't recognize it, But maybe, just maybe I will in the future, maybe I will take a piece of grass or whatever and put it in a fresh collodion and then put it into silver nitrate. Who knows? This is all part of my process, all part of my experimentation.
Yeah, really, really great. If you can send me the picture, I will put it in here. I will anyway put a lot of pictures in here so that people can see.
Yeah.
Because I said that I took at an exhibition a portrait of a beautiful girl, and I had to cut her hair because there wasn't like straight here. I said like I cut it, and then I put it also on the plate because I thought somehow it belongs there because it was before in her hair. And that reminded me a little bit about the story. It's a little bit different because I put it on purpose afterwards in there and varnish. So
yeah, good. I would like to see. Could you put that also on the vlog, like a detail, how it looks? Because here I don't see it.
Let me see if you can. You won't see it. I'm not sure if I can. Give me a second. I have to focus there. I can't focus with the.
Yeah, of course you have to. Yeah.
Maybe here. Now you can see it, right?
Yeah. Oh, you put it on the hair. Huh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Nice. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, that was just, I thought, I cut her hair and she's really pretty, and now why shouldn't I put the hair then back on the varnish? But I just see it goes out of the varnish again. How is this possible?
It's too thin.
Maybe, but it put it in the fresh varnish. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think I could just peel it off again. Okay, never saw that. So I have another question. This is, do you prefer a specific work to shoot with a specific medium?
You mean in photography? Yeah, of course.
In photography, like digital, like film, like wet plate, like.
It depends. Sure. It depends. Like for instance, I go as I feel like, like now I'm doing this 40 by 50 collodion negatives, but I'm learning that in this lush green forest, the exposure times are 10 minutes is not enough. F8, 10 minutes is not enough. Like, oh my God, like the last play that I've made, it was 8 minutes and it's not enough. It has to be 15 minutes, to get. So anyway, this is like a technique. What I want to say is that yes, this project started and it's continuing as a wet plate collodion process. But I know I have in mind a couple of photos that simply cannot be done in collodion. Because I have to stand in a certain position and I cannot stand for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And there are two solutions. One is just to postpone everything till March or February, where there are no leaves, and then the exposure times are much shorter. Or secondly, to do it on film. And actually, I must say that if I will see that I have to do it on film, I will start doing it on film. I have 5x7. I will do it on 5x7 film, and then I will make silver gelatin enlargements. So to answer your question, the medium for me is kind of as project demands. Like if I will decide that I cannot go on doing during the summer 40 by 50 collodion negatives, if I will come to this conclusion, I will switch to either film or I will wait till March, so this is one thing. So, I can say that I master all of them. I can do digital, I can do or film or or printing in the dark room, or collodion or whatever, like for me, it's just like, a musician picks up a saxophone or a guitar or drums or whatever, and plays, for me, that's like a miracle, but on the end of the day, for us photographers, it's easier, of course, like you still have a shutter and an aperture, and then as you go with a drummer and trumpet, I'm not sure how this goes. But anyway, so what I wanted to say is, whatever project demands, and if we're talking about New Earth, I gave you the what's the word, the questions that are, yeah, no, the dilemmas that I'm going through at the moment, like maybe I will switch, if that will be not possible, I will switch, but until now, those album and prints I really love, so I probably will still stick with the collodion negatives, and maybe even if I will have to postpone till March, then I will postpone it till March.
And then I have to go a little bit more specific with my question. So if you say, okay, the exposure times are too long, I'll go with film. Would you use like a photographic kind of film, like that's more sensitive to blue light? Or would you use just a normal black and white film?
I will use black and white film, and I would use Petzval lens. I would have to make like a shutter for the film. But this is something that I had in mind already. This is actually this morning. I think I was just checking the Packard do-it-yourself shutters. I would still use a film, but I would not put blue filter in front. I don't know. It depends. Like for instance, if I'm making portraits, I love to put yellow filter in front. If I'm doing landscape, I love to put red or orange filter on. Like. But if I do a lens like a trees, I don't know if I would, if the stuff is green, I don't know if I would put, I don't know. I was even thinking about infrared, like I'm thinking about infrared too, maybe this project it's not finished, it's developing, maybe I will switch to infrared film photography when I will be in the forest. This is something that I have to be open, and this is actually answering your question. I don't have a one lens or one camera and said, okay, this is something that I want to stick with. Yes, if that project demands, I will stick with. Actually, I have two lenses for 40 by 50. One is genuine from 1890, and the second one is Dallmayr from, I don't know, Second World War or something like that. And Dallmayr is much better for visually for my project than the other one. It's just better, and I will stick, and the other one I will sell probably. But that's how it is, like I just see what comes and how it feels, By the way, now when I'm talking, this is something that we photographers, we are not talking about, We photographers, we don't talk about the most important thing is like, how does this photograph in front of you makes you feel? This is the most important question. Who cares what kind of lens you shoot, or how much you paid for it? Or what kind of plugin you use in your Lightroom. It doesn't matter, of course it matters, but the most important question is, how does this image in front of you makes you feel? I guess, we are not, we are not being taught about that, but this for me is the most important thing. This is what I'm looking at, and I'm investigating myself. I'm self-reflecting. How does this photo makes me feel, And then I go and ask somebody else, and I get different opinion. I say, oh, that's interesting, and so on and so on. So for me, the most important question in photography that you can ask yourself is, how does this image in front of you, how does that make you feel, I must say, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm on YouTube. I'm rarely following photography content, because it's only about the cameras and sure, there are a couple of stuff that I really love, but most of them I watch, I don't know, MMA fights and YouTube music, and what else? Bushcraft videos, and what else? That's what I look, that's what my YouTube content is that I watch, I rarely watch photography, I watch art case. Art case is one of the stuff that I really love, and others art related content. But just because I'm frustrated because photographers are talking about cameras all the time, you know, like which is important, but these are crutches, right? These are crutches. I want to hear from a photographer how he or she is dancing, not what kind of crutches is using and what kind of model of crutches is using. I don't care, you know, just show me your dance, you know, like I want to see your dance. I want to see your photos. I want to see how you feel creating the photos. I want to see the feelings of encapsulated in a photo. That's what I'm interested in, you know. That's why I confess, you know, I'm kind of not very good photography podcast follower.
No,
Sorry to say that.
no, this is good. There's like, you won't listen to that, but there's like a very fresh and new podcast from Germany. It's in German, but they do exactly that. They don't talk about hardware, let's call it like that. They talk about, like the last podcast, one of the last were about self-portraits or self-portraits and selfies. What's the difference? Like for it was really good to listen. I like to listen to it if I work out, if I go for a walk or something. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Perfect.
Yeah,
may I ask you I'm sorry. May I ask you a favor to put this in the description? And guys who are watching this, please, if you have some, if you know some podcasts that are not talking about the gear and not talking about the stuff, you know, like talking about the art, please, you know, I know two of them actually, but I don't know by heart. So anyway, I'm really interested in that. You know, let's change the tide let's change the tide right now and leave a comment.
Yeah, that sounds really good. The one podcast from Germany is called Studio Kreativkommune, but I'll put it down in the description. And
Great.
like that reminded me of something. You know what I hate? To buy a new camera. That's something like a digital camera, a new one. I'm so happy with the ones I have. I bought the little one that's in front of me just for vacation, so I have a smaller one. I was always traveling with my Mamiya, and that was at some point for a short vacation. But otherwise, I have a lot of analog cameras at home, but I don't use so much. I just like some of them. But mostly, if it comes to digital and gear and cameras and lenses and software and stuff, it's so boring for me. I really, I can't tell you.
Great.
Yeah, I need a new camera. If the old one is broken, I need a new camera. I have to see what kind I will get. But I'm not so kind of, yeah. You just nailed it with what you said before.
Yeah.
So
I'm really looking forward of your German podcast, weil ich habe Deutsch gelernt auch als Kind und ich muss meine Deutschsprache
verbessern.
Practice. Verbessern, ja, verbessern.
Üben.
Das ist üben, ja, üben, ich weiß, aber üben, ja, das ist genau das Wort, ich bin suchen.
Was du gesucht hast, ja, genau. Ja.
Was du gesucht hast, ja, exakt. Ich spreche sechs Sprachen, aber Italienisch und Deutsch ist meine schwachste Sprache. Okay.
What other languages do you talk?
Well, Slovenian, English, Croatian or Serbo-Croatian, whatever. I call that one language. I mean, there are two languages, but I count it as one. Czech, yeah, and then German, Italian. But as I said, I was speaking Italian when I lived in Italy, and when I'm in Italy for more than a day, I understand like 70%. When I'm in Germany for more than a day, I understand 80%. So, you know, one of my to-do lists, my bucket list, is to get fluent in German and to maybe also in Italian. But you know, the Italian is not so. Yeah, German is much better because I learned in school. You know, so. But I never practiced it. I never had to speak German, you know, otherwise I would speak already, but that's okay. I'm really looking forward to the German podcast.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after we're finished. And so that means you speak Slovakian language too, because it's very similar to Czech.
Yeah. Let's say with Slovaks, I speak Czech and I understand.
Yeah, I
So,
think so.
but it's not so similar, you know. It's like, I mean, they understand each other, but I because I speak Czech, Slovakian is closer to Slovenian,
Ah, okay.
but I understand, yeah. And also Russian, you know, if somebody Russian is speaking, you know, with all my knowledge of Slavic languages, I know this archaic word in Slovenian means in Russian that and that, you know. So I can in Russian understand like 30% whatever they say, you know. I never learned Russian, but it's just, you know, if you speak other languages, you know, then you pick up, you know, like you know, Spanish people, they learn Italian like that, you know. That's how I would learn Russian if I would have to, you know.
Yeah, I'm very bad in learning languages. English is okay, but I tried to learn at some point Slovak, but it was terrible for me. Really had a teacher, and I listened every day in the car CDs, and it was so hard for me to wrap my head around how that language works. But it was very interesting for me to understand some a little bit more about the culture from the country if you know a little bit the language.
Of course.
But anyway, so I want to introduce two other projects I really like from you. And one is called 5 a.m. and one is called Flower Power.
Flower
Yeah.
power, yeah.
Let's start with Flower Power and then just talk a little bit about it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, imagine like that. I graduated in postgraduate studies in London College of Communication. Now it's called London College of Printing for people that know that college. I came back home, and a couple of years later, I became a photo editor and photojournalist for Mladina Weekly magazine, which is a major weekly magazine in Slovenia. And after 2 weeks, I got depressed because of these press conferences. Like I thought, oh my God, this is flash for cash. You know, like a person A comes and meet the person B and they handshake and you have to make a photo. And person A meets person B in a different background, a different event. They shake hands. You have to make a second photo because the first photo is not good, you know, and so on and so on. And number C and so on and so on. And I was doing that daily. And I said, oh my God, I will either quit this job or I will find something artistic inside this. I will set myself artistic project in this press conferences, or I will quit the job, because have I studied so long and so hard to do this flash for cash photography, you know, like, and then I thought, okay, and then I came up with this concept. So basically, yes, I came to the press conference, I photographed everything that I had to do as a photojournalist. Person A is meeting person B. I did flash for cash photo. But before that or after that, I also took a photo of a flower bouquet that usually it is in front of, on the table, or some kind of flower arrangement. There is always kind of nice, you know, with flowers. And then I thought, oh, that's really great, because I came to the press conference and I took all the photojournalistic dogma, all the stuff that you have to do as a photojournalist. I took everything literally. I just redirect my camera from up a little bit down. So I photographed the flower bouquet in front, the politicians, and in the background there were politicians out of focus. And also the caption was exactly like that. It was just not the president that and the president that meet, but I said the flower bouquet, the name of the flowers in Latin, this and this and this. At the event of this and this and this, you know, so everything went by the book, by the journalistic dogma, like photojournalistic dogma. Everything, the camera, the lens, the environment, the captioning, the whole ritual, the press conference. I didn't set it up. I just came there and took a photo. I took a snap, and that really was gratifying, because I didn't got numb in a professionalism, you know, I didn't got professionally numb, because if you're a good photographer, or if you're not good, if you're just a photographer, you know, you don't have to be a good one, you know, you just have to know how to be there at this stage at this time here and just took a photo, and that's how it is. And it's okay for the new. Nobody will say, oh, you could do better photo, you know. It's just like a photo of press conference. And so, and this is very numbing, because you slide on into this creative numbness, into this routine, because you know you can do it with left hand. You know exactly the scenario. You know how it will be. You know everything. You know, you could do it with the eyes closed, just listening the sounds. I bet I could do a photo just as good. You know, I bet that if I enter the nose and I just tap that there is nobody in front of me, I can do a photo of a handshake. Because at that time, when they handshake, all the cameras go, all the shutters goes, and then I will do a photo too. You know, I bet if actually that's a good test. I never done it, but because I was paid for it. But I bet I could do. A blind photographer can be a photojournalist. Yeah. Let's do an art project, guys. If somebody is listening there and has some artistic ambitions in the sociology, try to do this. Try to get a blind photographer and just teach him the rules and get him in the press conference. And I bet he will do a good photo. I mean, why? You know, you have autofocus, auto metering, everything is auto. You just, you know, and they're better in echoing. They just get there and just shoot, you know. I think that will be a good for the journalistic, artistic project, because it will tell a lot about news media and news photography. Anyway, I'm not. This is just an idea. I'm brainstorming here. It's not. I will never do this project. So if somebody is interested, go ahead, use it. I will be the first one who would make thumbs up, and I will really enjoy to see the outcome, because I could bet it could raise some good questions there.
I really enjoyed it a lot to watch the pictures. I will put them in the video here, to see the flowers and the power in the background.
Yeah.
But I really had a hard time not laughing, so the people can see you, not laughing out loud here, so the people can see you in the video. It was really good. So the second one, I really
wait. One more thing I have to say. For people that don't know, these politicians, they are all, of course, I only photographed in Slovenia, but politicians are all from George Bush to Vladimir Putin to Angela Merkel to you name who, Prodi and so on. So they're like kind of world figures at that time, you know. And one more thing I want to say, the last thing I want to say about flower power is the Marcel Stefancic, who wrote a foreword for my project. He made one sentence that stands out, and he said this following words: in 100 years, nobody will know the name of these people in behind, like the name of these politicians, but in 100 years, everybody will know the name of the flowers.
Yeah, I read that. That was perfect. That's just for thinking absolutely nobody will know who, I don't know, whoever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, super. Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, the second one I really enjoyed a lot, because it's called 5 a.m. Because at some point I remember just when I was shooting images in China, I was going often early in the morning. Or anyway, I think I was partying a lot at some point, and then we come home early in the morning, or I was even having a job where I had to stand up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And the world is different at that time. It's so interesting. I enjoyed the time a lot. And then when I saw your images, I was like recognizing myself going through the streets and seeing these people. So let's talk a little bit more about it.
Yeah. Let me say that this project came out, the concept came out from frustration, like a huge frustration. Imagine I was in Fabrica, that's Benetton Research Center, where we used to work with Oliviero Toscani and big projects, big thing, like, wow, like age 25 and you have your Benetton PR machine behind you, you know, if you come up with a project, you know, they will send you to South America or whatever, you know. You had this kind of opportunity, and it was great. But then Oliviero Toscani left. He split with Luciano Benetton, and there was a huge gap in the leadership. It was a huge gap of identity. It was a huge gap of artistic creativity in the fabrica. So basically, I just spent a week and a week and weeks and months behind a computer. We didn't have really we had some assignments, some projects, but nothing really challenging, like especially not photography wise. Photography wise was zero. So I said, okay, I will. And again, this was frustration. And I said, okay, I will set myself a personal project, personal art. And I started. And oh yeah, the thing is, we had to be in Fabrica between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. because the system got so loose and there was no leadership. Like people were not coming, students were not coming, and we had to have our ticket, how you call it, cards. You have to sign yourself when you arrived and sign yourself off, just like in a factory, which was ridiculous. But that's how it was. And I couldn't. And if I wanted to go outside, I just want to go to photograph, street photography. No, you cannot do that. You have to fill up this form. And you have to, how long will this project be? How long will just this bureaucratical machine was driving me crazy. And I said, you know what? I will go out at 5 o'clock in the morning when I don't have to ask nobody. Actually, I went first at 6 o'clock, and then I realized 5 o'clock is perfect. So I was getting up at 4:30 and I was photographing till 5:59. Just street photography, just being outside. And I said, I don't have to ask nobody. I can shoot my own stuff. I shoot on film, and that's how it was. And I enjoyed that so much. And then I continued doing it when I was in London, when I was in Shanghai, when I was in the United States. I just got up and photographed, when I was in Finland and so on. And in 10 years, it came up a really nice body of work, which I have to publish as a book. Maybe, just maybe, I will publish it this year. Why not? Because I'm self-publishing, and I'm so glad, I'm so honored, guys, that you're following my work, because my dream really come true. I'm publishing my books, and this is something that it's really a dream come true, because my art belongs in a book. If it's in a gallery, it's great, but if it's not in a book, the project it's not finished. That's how I feel.
Okay, I would definitely be interested in this book, because it reminded me of so many situations I faced when I was up that early in the morning. And even, like the bakery store, like, I don't know, a slaughter, whatever, people work very early and you don't see that. You just go in the shop and get your stuff. And
yeah. And the people who are like yourself, who are coming like yourself, you're coming off your party, and then this for me was interesting, because like in London or wherever, like people in a tube station, like, or on the underground, they're just like dead there. And then like somebody totally standing and just very, very sober, very, very focused and going to work, and this 5 o'clock, why I choose 5 o'clock? Because it's not a day and it's not a night. It's just in between. It's not so so for me it was like kind of like those two worlds coexisting, and then this is not a sharp line. I love that. Yeah, it's kind of lingering between two worlds. Yeah. So anyway, so this is something that is, it's many people. I mean, I heard many people saying this is my best project. so yeah. So but it's not finished as a book. I doubt I will still do some photography, because now I feel totally different and I'm a different person. But I still get up very early. Like this morning, I got up 5:15 because I set a time lapse of sun rising, and I didn't went back to sleep. So I still get up early, but I don't think I will photograph more on this project, or maybe I will. I don't know.
Why not? It would be cool to see the transition from the cityscape to the landscape kind of things. 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but no, it would not work. I tried.
Yeah, okay.
I went with Hunter, and I go on. It didn't work. It has to be an urban element inside. It has to be a line. It has to be a street light. It has to be a distant car or whatever. I don't know. I took a lot of photos. I look at them. it didn't feel right. It didn't felt right. And I have a lot of nature in my photos, but they're like dead animals, like a dead deer, or like run over, like a roadkill, and that kind of stuff. It has to be urban. I didn't found a solution. It didn't found a solution to why I didn't found, because photographing a landscape is you cannot avoid idolizing a subject, you know, like a wild animals and beautiful nature. It's very difficult to get away from this grip of idealization, aesthetic of idealization. So that's for me. I didn't find. That's for me. It's discouraging. I'm not saying that they're not artwork, that people are photographing nature and they're not idolizing. Actually, I can think of couple of photographers that do that. But for me, in the context of 5 a.m., I just didn't put it. I couldn't get it in. I couldn't get like a good photo inside. It was a good photo, but just didn't fit in. You know, that's how it was.
Did you go to restaurants or something too in the morning? Did it open like to hot dog stand booth, or I don't know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I love the photo from Ukraine, from Kiev. I love the photo in Shanghai when the security guards are sleeping, and that kind of stuff. I went to the factories. You know, I talked with them. I went inside the factories, but I didn't do any good photos there. You know, I don't know. It just didn't feel right because it was kind of documenting. I don't know. I just, as I said, a photographer, you know, it's great to work on a good concept and then just work it through. And then a concept is like a big piece of stone, and then you just chop it off, you know, just chop it off, and then slowly you get the face or whatever you want to get out, you know. But basically you have to do it by trying, you know. It's just, as I said, but the main purpose and the main question is, how does this photo makes you feel? You know, how does that makes you feel? This is crucial question. And if you follow that, you cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong, because sooner or later your personality, if it's messed up, or if you're aligned, enlightened, whatever, your personality will come out. And because your personality is great, it's absolutely great, your story is amazing, it will come out. Talking about amazing story, just popped out of from nowhere. There is one book, I bought it in Vienna photo book fair where we met, actually. There was one guy who was a salesman. He was driving a car and selling something. Doesn't matter. He's not famous. I don't even remember. I have a book somewhere here. But imagine that. You're driving, you're selling whatever you're selling. Is it a clothes or whatever? Doesn't matter. I didn't read. I don't remember if he explained what he's selling. But he was a travel agent. And what he did, he set himself up on the the passenger seat. He set himself a tripod and a camera, and he just photographed through the window. You know, like he was driving a car, he saw something, he pressed. You know, he was driving a car, he saw something, he pressed. The same frame, totally the same frame, but just amazing. One of the most amazing street photography I have ever seen. For me, this was why this guy is not super famous. You know, why we are seeing Martin Parr in for 25 years now, you know, if we have this kind of guy, you know, and so on, you know. Like for me, that was like that for me was like, this guy, this is amazing work, you know. And again, maybe this is again this artwork was being bought out of frustration. You know, this guy was frustrated for driving and, you know, spending his life in a car, you know, being, you know, in a car. And then he made this, you know, he made this body of work that really, it's really, really great. I will try to find the name. Otherwise, somebody from you guys will know his work and leave a comment.
No, you find the name and I'll put it down in the description. Maybe there's a link to his book or to whatever.
Yeah, yeah. My library is kind of messy, but I will try to find it. Yeah, because it's in a box. You know, most of it is in the boxes still.
So we are pretty at the end of the vlog. I think it was super interesting to talk with you. And at the end, I think you answered this question already, but I still want to ask it again, you know. So like, what question would you like to ask yourself? I think you answered it a little bit with how makes your photo feel, kind of a answer. So you want to answer yourself another question, or is this already the question you want to ask yourself?
Yes, I have one question to ask myself. If I would have, so the question goes like this. If I would have to ask myself one question, what would that question be? That's it.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. So, Borut, thanks so much for your time. It was, I really enjoyed it a lot to talk with you. The first image of Borut is already online in the United Art Gallery. There's always the link is down in the description. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being with me now for what, about 2 hours? I'm not sure. And you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Marcus, for all the work that you do for the community. And I publicly apologize because I did my best in cooperation, but you had to help me. And you know, you do some backhand work with a website that I couldn't find myself time. I'm super happy that we pulled this off, and you know, top shit happens.